What if I told you the thing holding you back isn't the world? It's your own reflection. What if every time you looked in the mirror, you weren't just seeing your face, you were seeing your fears, your doubts, your shame? They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. But what if you stopped avoiding that mirror long enough to finally meet yourself? Because how can you face your problems if the biggest problem you're running from is your face? Today, we dive deep into 10 habits that don't just shift your mindset, they rebuild your identity. We live in a world obsessed with the external: looks, status, filters, the illusion of perfection. But the truth is, nothing outside of you can heal what's broken inside of you. We scroll, we swipe, we chase, we distract, because it's easier to point fingers than to hold up the mirror. It's easier to judge others than to journey into our own shadows. But real transformation, real healing never begins with the outside. It begins within. Your face is not just a face, it is the canvas of every emotion you've ever swallowed, every tear you were told not to cry, every insult you absorbed until it became your self-talk, every time someone called you not enough and you believed it. But here's the hard truth: until you learn to look inward, the world will keep triggering the parts of you you've tried to bury. Every rejection will feel personal. Every silence will echo your deepest fear. Every glance will feel like judgment even when no one's looking at you. Self-awareness is not self-hatred. It's self-respect, the courage to admit, I don't like what I see in me, but I care enough to understand why. It's choosing to stop running. It's choosing to pause when your instinct is to escape. It's realizing that maybe, just maybe, the answer isn't out there. It's in the wounds you refuse to visit. Looking inward means sitting in silence long enough to hear your own heartbeat, to feel the weight of your own disappointment, to acknowledge the role you've played in your own pain, not to blame, but to reclaim. You can't rewrite the world's opinion of you, but you can rewrite the way you see yourself. Because every external battle becomes easier when your internal war is over. And that peace, it doesn't start on the outside. It starts when you dare to look within and say, I'm still here, I'm still breathing, and I'm willing to begin. Some people avoid mirrors not because they dislike how they look, but because of what looking reminds them of. Shame doesn't just live in memories, it lives in your expression. It weighs on your shoulders. It hides behind your forced smile. It leaks into your posture, your voice, your choices. And if you're not careful, shame becomes the mask you wear so long, you forget your real face underneath. But where does shame begin? It starts young. Maybe someone told you that you weren't good-looking enough. Maybe someone laughed at your skin, your scars, your size, your speech. Maybe you were told that your emotions made you weak, that crying was for cowards, that being sensitive was a flaw. And every time you heard that lie, a crack formed in your mirror. Not the one on the wall, the one inside your heart. Shame is silent, but its echo is loud. It tells you to dim your light so others don't feel insecure. It convinces you that you must always prove your worth, perform for love, hide your truth. And worst of all, it whispers that you're alone in your struggle, that no one would love you if they saw the real you. But let me ask you this. What if the mirror lied? What if the reflection you hate isn't even you but a distorted version shaped by pain, trauma, rejection? And most people don't realize this, but the voice that hurts you the most often sounds just like yours. It's not always the bullies, or the critics, or the people who left. It's the voice in your head, the one that echoes their words long after they've gone. I'm not good enough. I'm too broken. I'll never change. I'm ugly. I don't matter. You weren't born with that voice. You were taught it. Somewhere along the way, you started believing it. Maybe it was from a careless parent, a ruthless teacher, a toxic partner, or a society that profits from your insecurity. They spoke, and you listened, and worse, you repeated it. But here's what they never told you. Your self-talk is the seed of your self-worth, and the way you talk to yourself sets the standard for how the world is allowed to treat you. If every time you stand in front of a mirror, you find something to hate, that's not reflection, it's rejection. You're not looking at your face. You're looking through the filter of your pain. And every cruel word you've said to yourself adds another crack to your sense of worth. But what if you changed the dialogue? What if just for one day you spoke to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love? You wouldn't say you're worthless to your best friend. You wouldn't say you're disgusting to your child. You wouldn't say you're unlovable to someone who's already hurting. So why is it okay to say it to you? Positive self-talk isn't just about being nice. It's about rebuilding your emotional foundation. Every time you look in the mirror and say, I'm trying, you soften the harshness. Every time you whisper, I matter, you plant a seed. Every time you affirm, I'm not my mistakes, you reclaim your identity. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about telling the whole truth, the part that says, yes, I've been broken. Yes, I've made mistakes. Yes, I've failed. But I am still worthy, still growing, still becoming. And if you say that enough times, eventually, that voice in your head will stop being your enemy and start being your greatest ally. Too many people are trying to start over by erasing who they were. They change their name, their style, their friends, their feed. They run from the past like it's a virus, like if they pretend hard enough, the pain will disappear. But here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. You cannot heal what you keep hiding. Your face is not a flaw. It is a map of every heartbreak you've walked through, every sleepless night you endured, every lesson you didn't want but needed, every moment you kept breathing when quitting felt easier. That scar, that frown line, that tired look in your eyes, that's not shame, that's evidence. That's living proof that you've been through fire and came out forged. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be real. To tell your story without apology. To own the chapters that almost killed you, not with bitterness but with boldness. Because someone out there is drowning in a story that looks just like yours. But they're convinced they're alone. And your voice, your truth, your face could be the lifeline they need. So stop trying to delete your past. Stop trying to look like healing and start being healing. Own your sadness. Own your rage. Own your growth. Own the days you messed up and the days you showed up anyway. You don't have to carry shame anymore. You have to carry truth. And when you finally start telling your story, not to get pity, not to look strong, but simply to be honest, that's when you stop being a victim and become a voice. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone will clap. But you will be free. Free from hiding. Free from pretending. Free to look in the mirror and finally say, "This is me, all of me, and I'm not erasing any of it." Too many people are trying to start over by erasing who they were. They changed their name, their style, their friends, their feed. They run from the past like it's a virus, like if they pretend hard enough, the pain will disappear. But here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. You cannot heal what you keep hiding. Your face is not a flaw. It is a map of every heartbreak you've walked through, every sleepless night you endured, every lesson you didn't want but needed, every moment you kept breathing when quitting felt easier. That scar, that frown line, that tired look in your eyes, that's not shame, that's evidence. That's living proof that you've been through fire and came out forged. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be real. To tell your story without apology. To own the chapters that almost killed you. Not with bitterness, but with boldness. Because someone out there is drowning in a story that looks just like yours. But they're convinced they're alone. And your voice, your truth, your face could be the lifeline they need. So stop trying to delete your past. Stop trying to look like healing and start being healing. Own your sadness. Own your rage. Own your growth. Own the days you messed up and the days you showed up anyway. You don't have to carry shame anymore. You have to carry truth. And when you finally start telling your story, not to get pity, not to look strong, but simply to be honest, that's when you stop being a victim and become a voice. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone will clap. But you will be free. Free from hiding. Free from pretending. Free to look in the mirror and finally say, "This is me. All of me, and I'm not erasing any of it." Mornings are more than just minutes. They are moments of decision. And for most people, the day begins in chaos, scrolling, comparing, rushing, reacting. But if the first thing you see when you wake up is someone else's life, how can you ever recognize your own? Your morning isn't just a schedule, it's a statement. A statement of who you believe you are, a declaration of what you're about to bring into the world. And the truth is, most people lose their identity, not because of a major failure, but because they never intentionally claimed it. A morning ritual isn't a luxury, it's a life jacket. It's the anchor that holds you steady when the storms of the world start pulling you in every direction. So, what does that look like? It can be as simple as 5 minutes. 5 minutes where you remind yourself, I am not behind. I am not broken. I am becoming. I am already worthy before I prove anything, post anything, or please anyone. It's writing down what matters most to you before the world tries to distract you with what matters least. It's choosing one habit that grounds you, stretching, journaling, praying, affirming, walking, meditating, something that centers your soul before the chaos begins. Because if you don't program your mind in the morning, the world will program it for you. You'll start chasing approval instead of alignment. You'll react to life instead of leading it. You'll live your day proving who you are, instead of living like you already know. Identity isn't something you find by accident. It's something you build habit by habit, thought by thought, morning by morning dot, and when you take that time, when you choose that moment every day, you begin to rise not just out of bed, but into yourself. You are not just a product of your habits. You are a product of your environment. And no matter how strong you think you are, you will eventually begin to reflect the energy of the people you spend the most time with. So here's a brutal truth. Some of you can't see your potential not because it's missing, but because you're surrounded by people who've never seen theirs. If every time you speak up, someone talks over you, if every time you dream, someone laughs, if every time you love yourself, someone makes you feel guilty, that's not support. That's sabotage disguised as friendship. We all have people in our lives who act like mirrors, but not every mirror reflects you accurately. Some distort you, make you smaller than you are, uglier than you are, less than you are. They highlight your flaws, minimize your growth, and mock your progress, and yet you stay. Why? Because familiarity feels safe. Because history feels like loyalty. Because you've convinced yourself that you can fix them, or that being alone would be worse. But let me tell you something powerful. You don't need people who dim your light, just because they're scared of their own shadow. You need people who reflect your truth, people who look at your face and see your fight, people who speak life into your name when you forget who you are, people who don't just clap for your wins, but sit with you in your losses and remind you you're still valuable, you're still enough. Reflective people don't compete with you, they remind you. They don't pull you back, they push you forward. They don't hold you hostage to your past, they help you heal it. And no, they won't always be the loudest, the coolest, or the most popular. Sometimes they're the quiet ones, the ones who listen deeply, the ones who show up when the crowd disappears. If your circle doesn't challenge you to grow, if your friends don't speak to your purpose, not just your pain, if your people don't remind you of your face, when the world tries to make you forget, then it's time to shift the circle. Not with bitterness, not with hate, but with clarity. Because the most powerful thing you can do for your healing is surround yourself with people who see you clearly even on the days when your own mirror is fogged with shame. Comparison is a thief, not just of joy but of identity. It doesn't just make you feel less than, it makes you forget who you are entirely. We live in a world where everyone is showcasing their highlight reel, where filters replace flaws, where struggles are edited out and only success gets shared. And if you're not grounded, you'll start measuring your real life against someone else's curated illusion. You scroll through photos and suddenly feel like you're behind in life. You see someone's beauty and begin to question your own. You hear of someone's success and start to resent your journey. But the truth is, you don't know their cost. You don't know what they had to lose to gain that win. You don't know what they're hiding behind that smile. You don't know how many nights they cried themselves to sleep just to get to that post you envy. Comparison thrives in distance. It makes us judge what we don't understand. But when you lean in close, when you start to see people not as threats, but as humans, something changes. Comparison becomes compassion. You begin to realize that their glow doesn't dim your light. Their rise isn't your fall. Their beauty doesn't cancel your worth. You were never meant to walk their path. You were meant to walk yours. And it's going to look different. It's supposed to, because your story has different chapters. Your wounds have different lessons. Your face tells a different truth. So the next time you feel comparison creeping in, stop. Breathe. And say to yourself, I celebrate them, and I still honor me. I see their shine. And I don't need to dim mine. I'm not late. I'm not behind. I'm just becoming in my own time. Because the only competition that matters is between who you are and who you were yesterday. And when you choose compassion toward others and toward yourself, your face begins to soften. The weight you've been carrying begins to lift, and you finally start to feel human again. Somewhere along the way, you learned to hide. Not physically, but emotionally. You learned to silence your voice before it could be mocked. To lower your eyes before they rolled. To shrink in rooms where you were never truly seen. Maybe you were told you were too much, too loud, too sensitive, too dramatic. Or maybe you were told you were not enough, not smart enough, not attractive enough, not good enough to be worth remembering. So you disappeared. You became the background character in your own life. You smiled to fit in. You nodded so no one would question you. You blended in so well. You forgot what it felt like to stand out. But here's the thing. Hiding is not humility. Silencing yourself is not strength. You weren't born to be invisible. Your presence matters. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. Even if it shakes when you speak it. Showing up is a habit. It's not about spotlight. It's not about attention. It's about ownership. Owning your space. Owning your value. Owning the fact that you deserve to be in the room. Not just outside it. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. You'll feel exposed. You'll worry about judgment. But the more you show up, the more your nervous system rewires to understand. I am safe. I am allowed. I am welcome. Start small. Speak up in a meeting. Post that thought. Take that photo. Look into the camera without lowering your gaze. Say your name with confidence even if your voice shakes. Wear what reflects you, not just what hides you. Visibility is not about ego, it's about permission. You give yourself permission to be seen. And in doing that, you give others permission to do the same. The world is full of people pretending to be what they're not. But your authenticity, your unapologetic realness, that's rare. That's gold. That's powerful. So stop hiding. Show up raw, flawed, glowing, healing. You don't owe anyone perfection. You only owe yourself one thing: presence. In a world that profits from your insecurity, it's a revolutionary act to say, I am not my appearance. We've been conditioned since childhood. To tie beauty to value. To tie skin to worth. To tie weight to confidence. To tie perfection to being loved. Every commercial, every post, every magazine cover quietly whispered, you're not enough yet. But maybe if you just fixed this, changed that, improved here, you could be. And so we chase it. The perfect body, the perfect skin, the perfect smile. But it never ends because the more you try to look like someone else, The further you drift from being yourself, the tragedy. Most people never meet the real version of themselves. They only meet the edited, masked, appearance-based identity they perform for acceptance. But you are more than the vessel you live in. You are the fire that burns inside of it. Your appearance can never capture your courage. Your scars cannot erase your kindness. Your body does not limit your brilliance. And your face, no matter how much pain it has carried, is not the full picture of your worth. It's okay to care about how you look, but it's not okay to define your value by it, because when your identity is built on looks alone, every wrinkle becomes a crisis, every bad photo becomes a failure. Every comparison becomes a war you can never win. But when your identity is built on truth, your integrity, your compassion, your resilience, your story, then you become unshakable. Start seeing yourself beyond the surface. Write about your values. Reflect on your decisions. Celebrate your growth. Start defining yourself by who you're becoming, not by how you're being perceived. Because the most beautiful people in the world, they're not the ones who fit the mold. They're the ones who broke it and still walked with their head held high. There was a time when the mirror was a weapon. It reminded you of everything you weren't. Everything they said was wrong with you. It reflected shame, not self. You'd avoid it. Walk past it quickly. Lower your eyes. Because facing it meant facing your history, your self-judgment, your broken beliefs. But what if that mirror could become your throne? What if, instead of reflecting pain, it became a symbol of your progress? What if, instead of showing you flaws, it showed you fight? Because that reflection you see, it's not weakness. It's proof. Proof that you're still standing. Proof that you've survived the days that should have broken you. Proof that you're not who you were, and not yet who you'll become. You don't have to love every inch of what you see, but you can honor it. You can respect it. You can look at your eyes and remember the tears they've held. You can touch your skin and remember what it's healed from. You can stand in front of your own face and whisper, "I see you. I'm with you. I'm not abandoning you anymore." Reclaiming the mirror doesn't mean you suddenly adore your appearance. It means you stop hiding from your reflection. Because when you look at yourself through the lens of power, not shame, you start to walk differently, speak differently, choose differently. You stop asking for permission to be seen. You stop seeking approval for existing. You stop apologizing for the space you take up. You've looked in the mirror and seen disappointment long enough. Now it's time to see determination. Now it's time to see a warrior. Now it's time to reclaim the mirror not as a place of judgment, but as a sanctuary of truth. Your face is not your problem. It is your proof. Proof that you didn't quit. Proof that you're still becoming. Proof that no matter what tried to break you, you still rise.